Hi, welcome to another chakra yoga session, and this one is on the fifth chakra, the throat chakra, Vishuddha. This chakra is associated with communication, our own communication, speaking, sharing our own thoughts and voice, but also listening. It's associated with the ears, and when it's working, people are well-spoken, they're able to communicate their feelings and their thoughts. And when it's not, a variety of things can happen. They can feel like they can never find the right words. They can feel that their throat is enclosed. They can feel pain in their neck or their shoulders or their throat or mouth. Sore throats, mouth sores, mouth ulcers, those types of things are associated with congestion around this chakra. This chakra is also associated with the thyroid. Maybe that's associated with our communication skills as well. It's meant to be associated with the throat chakra. Light blue is the color associated with this space. When the chakra is possibly overactive, you'll get the people who are a bit loud, a bit too talkative. They tend to interrupt and interject in between people. They have a tendency towards nagging and interrupting and disrupting with their voice and with their communication. So this is the throat chakra, Vishuddha chakra, and this is what we're going to work with today. Focusing on the upper body, on the throat, on the shoulders. And the shoulder, this area is also an area that a lot of us are feeling tightness and discomfort in recent times, especially during lockdowns when so many people are working from home, because we have a tendency to be working at a laptop or a home computer, looking at our devices a lot more scrolling. Our shoulders are coming forward. We're not having the opportunities to communicate like we normally would, because we're not seeing each other, we're not meeting up, we're not getting those chats and those normal social interactions that this part of our body relies on. So we're going to be working through the throat, the chest, the shoulders, and the neck to release tension and hopefully leave us feeling a little bit more open and a little bit more comfortable by the end of the session. What you'll need for this are a few things. If you have a blanket that can be folded up, if you have a bolster or a stiff cushion or a couple of cushions or a couple of yoga blocks, that's what we'll need. We'll be doing some propping and we'll be sticking some things underneath us to open up the chest and let the shoulders relax. So if you have those things, go ahead and grab them. We'll start by lying down. And if you have a light blanket or a very kind of flat cushion, and if you have nothing, you can even roll up your yoga mat if you're not on a hard floor and use the bulk of the mat behind you if you're lying on carpet or something. So we're going to put this just behind our shoulders. So I'm going to lay back. I want to make sure that my shoulders are clear of the blanket. My head and shoulders are able to be on the ground, and I'm able to move my arms outward. In fact, let's do goalpost arms. They'll fit in the picture there. So bringing the elbows out to the sides of the shoulders and rest the head looking up. You can wobble the hips out, open up the feet a little bit. And this is just a really gentle way to start opening up the chest. Our throat should be free, so let's not tuck the chin down towards the chest. Let's extend it up a little bit more towards the ceiling. So the chest is opening and the throat is free. Now, if you have a tendency to get cold around the neck or the throat, I do, hence the scarf, rather than feel a cold draft, do have your throat and neck covered if it's cool in the space that you're practicing in. You can close the eyes and just settle into this position for a few deep breaths. If you notice that you're lifting your ribs and lifting your back away from the mat, try to soften it down. If there's discomfort in the low back, then go ahead and bend the knees up and readjust your hips so that it might be a little bit more comfortable. So wherever the low body is comfortable, you can leave it. I'm going to leave my legs straight or straight out in front, but make sure that you're not creating any discomfort in the low back. You should feel a lift, but you should be able to exhale and soften through the belly. Find the breath, and in this class, more than any of the others, we want to make sure we are breathing deeply and focusing on the breath as it moves through the throat. So you're pulling the breath in through the nostrils, feeling the breath in the nose, feel it being pulled down the throat. And if you're not used to the Ujjayi breath, I want you to try this. I want you to try constricting the throat, both on the inhale and exhale. I want you to try constricting the breath on both the inhale and the exhale, just in the throat. So I don't know if you can hear that noise I'm making. You don't need to be so loud. But it's the same sensation. If you were to fog up a mirror in front of you, you would take that deep breath. You constrict the throat to get the power and blow it out through the mouth. We're going to do the same thing here, but without using the mouth. We're doing the same thing in the throat, but we're just still breathing in and out through the nose. So you breathe in. You might notice too much. You might just notice a sense of the breath being slowed down as you breathe out. It's like you're creating a bit of a barrier that the breath has to move through. Some people compare it to the sound of a baby snoring, the sound of a seashell, a big seashell. If you hold it up to your ear, it's that echoey, whistling sound. Now, when you're doing it softly and gently, it shouldn't be audible to anyone else, even really if they're right next to you. I'm emphasizing the sound in hopes that you can kind of hear it. But we want to be gently breathing in and out through the nose and just tightening through the throat. That's doing a few things. It's slowing the breath down. It's creating a little bit of a massage as the breath has to work through the throat, through the little trap that we created. And it's putting some pressure or activating the vagus nerve, which runs from the base of the brain down through the back of the throat and down throughout the body. It's our communication center between the brain and the gut, famously the belly. But research suggests that when we stimulate the throat, in the back of the throat, beyond talking, more with humming, with this type of vibration, with chanting, and with some singing, that activates that nerve in a way that calms the body. It pushes the mind into that parasympathetic, activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it sends us into the rest and digest thinking. It activates the rest and digest and helps to just calm the whole body. So taking 2 or 3 more breaths here, really starting to feel that opening. And if your knees are not bent, go ahead and start to bend the knees. Bringing your 2 feet onto the floor, you can release the arms, bringing them back down to the side. And then bring one knee up and pull the head up towards the knee. I'm bringing my right knee up first, but it doesn't matter which one. Keep the head and shoulders up. Bring the other knee up. Touch the head towards or to the knee. And then gently roll or push yourself up to sitting. We're going to use this in a minute so you can keep it where it's at. And we're just going to move through a few cat and cow poses. So palms are below the shoulders. Fingers are spread from each other. Activate the hands as if you're pushing the knuckles down into the ground. Knees are below the hips. Tops of the feet are on the mat. Find your neutral tabletop position. Then tilt the pelvis, dip the belly down, and look forward as you inhale. Exhale, arching it up. Inhale, dip. Inhale, dip. Exhale, arch it up. This can be gentle or strong, depending on how it feels in the body. Moving with your own body and your own breath. Up, up, up. And dipping down. One more. Arch it up. And dip it back down. We're going to bring our bum towards our heels. We're going to bring our elbows onto this cushion and bring them out in front. So my elbows are forward of my shoulder. You can see I can clasp the hands or just have them resting, and I can just rest my forehead down. If you want to widen the arms a bit, you can. If you want to push your weight back more towards the heels, you can. This can be active or very restful. And if you want to widen the knees further, you can. Mine are not together, but they're not as wide as the edges of the mat. It's somewhere in between. And just taking a couple of breaths. Now my head being raised this little bit away from the floor just eases a little bit of the strain through the neck and the shoulders. So I'm going to bring my arms down for the more traditional child's pose so that my shoulders can roll down towards the ground and further. Now I'm going to bring my head right towards the very edge of the blanket. So my forehead is no longer on the blanket, it's more kind of the top edge of my head. Once I'm here, I want to just do a little mini arch of the back. So just arch it slightly and then soften it back down. You mightn't even be able to see it. I'm arching my upper back just slightly and sinking back down, and do that one more time. Just to kind of release the shoulders, letting them drop down fully. And softening again for a couple of more breaths. If it starts to feel like your neck is being compressed, make sure you move the blanket further forward. As the spine starts to soften, you might need a little bit more space. So I'm just sinking down as I soften a little bit deeper down towards the ground. The shoulders rolling out and down towards the floor. And my shoulder blades are spread as far away from each other as they can. And I can even spread my elbows out a little bit further to really emphasize that. Focusing on that ujjayi breath.
constricting the throat as you breathe in and out softly and evenly. Focusing on your throat. And throughout this practice, you could be repeating in your mind a mantra, a simple mantra related to this. So if you feel that you have some concerns, if you're unable to communicate as easily as you'd like, or you tend to talk out of turn and would like to kind of deeper that in a little bit, find a little statement. I communicate clearly, I communicate with ease. And as we're settling into these postures, because they're all pretty restful, you can just be repeating that in your mind as you exhale. I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling, and I'm going to say, I communicate with ease. I communicate with ease. Another way of focusing on this chakra is to hum. Traditionally, there is a mantra that you would hum in association to each of the chakras. And for this one, it's the sound hum. So you could just hum. You don't even have to think of it as a word. Just go ahead and hum. Go ahead and make a little noise. Hum. Hum. It could be a song that's beneficial. One more breath, this position, and then we're going to push ourselves up. So bringing the palms to the floor, pushing up. And we're going to use our block next. And this one's a little bit weird. If you don't have a block, you do need something that's quite solid. Even a book that you maybe put the edge of your blanket over or something. We're going to get into the muscles in the front of the shoulder, the pec muscles that attach the front ribs to the shoulders. When they're tight, we get that rolled in sensation. So this is kind of wonky stretch, but it's got a great reward. So we're going to lay kind of on our front, and we're going to put the block kind of between our underarm and breast, if you have one, if that's your anatomy. We don't want it inside the armpit, so that's to clarify that. So it's kind of to more the front. And what we're doing is we don't want to be in against the bone. We kind of want to be feeling that muscular tissue. We're going to lean kind of into it. And you kind of feel around until you kind of feel a tenderness. And then just kind of lean into it. There's really no wrong way of doing this. So if you're not sure, as long as it's not right deep into your armpit, it's not probably going to cause any harm. Sometimes I'll hold the block like this and I can kind of lean or rock a little bit until I feel a little twinge of a sensation. This is kind of like foam rolling. If you have a foam roller, you could probably use that as well. Or trigger point. So we're just trying to find a tight spot and staying with it for a few breaths. Trying to be nice and easy. Nice and easy with the breath, that is. The sensation could be quite strong. And then find another spot. So let's move through a few areas here. You could be kind of more over the block. Here I'm going to have my head kind of more over. And maybe one more spot on this side. I'm going to go down a little bit more so it's coming up through the side. Maybe wobble it a little bit more again. You can change the position of the arm and see. One last breath here. And we'll swap to the other side. I'm getting it right in underneath here. I'm leaning onto it. I'm adjusting till I feel a little bit of a twinge, a little bit of sensation. Breathing into it, settling the body into it. If you want to rock a little bit. Find another spot maybe. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh. Keep breathing. Make sure you don't hold the breath. And find one last spot. Shift. Lean down into it so it's a little bit more into the top part. Oh, and when you find a spot, wow, you can really, you can feel it. Just try to keep breathing through it. Just try to hold it in each spot for 3 to 5 breaths if you can. And then ease up from it. You can push up back to sitting now. If you want to sit on a block, you can. Rolling the shoulders up towards the ears and back. Up towards the ears and back. Up towards the ears and back. And then start to bring the arms in. Noticing what you feel. Bring the arms forward and out and back. And then just bring the fingertips to touch in front. Lift the elbows up and bring them down. Up and down. Notice if you're lifting your shoulders or you're doing something wonky on one side. Try to keep it even. Up. 2 more. Softening through the shoulder. And then we're going to reach back behind us and bring the hands forward. So just rolling forward, forward, and forward. You can clasp the hands, push them away, lift up. And as you do that, you'll see that most of us will tend to lift our shoulders up to the ears. So we want to settle that down. So it's more important to soften through the arms if you can't bring them up and down. So the arms don't have to be perfectly straight, but we do want to have our neck clear. We don't want our shoulders up at the neck. So trying to lengthen through the arms. They don't have to be directly overhead. You can see if they'll go there. Now, without tilting, we want to lengthen through the arms and drop our head and arms slightly to the right, but we don't want to tilt over. So keep your sit bones planted. If you're on a block, it makes it a little bit harder because you're a little bit rocky to begin with. So you really have to kind of activate the core here. Stretch the arms and drop the ear to the one side. Take a couple breaths. And then back to center. Straighten those arms up again. Pull the shoulders down. You should feel possibly a bit of fatigue or some sensation in the tops of the shoulders. Settling down into the hips again. Subtly over to the other side. Drop the ear down. I'm not doing a big side bend here because I'm keeping my hips solid. I'm trying to bring my ear down to the one side and just a little bit of a stretch here through the arms. Activating the shoulders. And then back and release. Shake them out. And let the hands rest on the knees. We're just going to do some neck circles now. So chin towards the chest. As you do that, check on what you're doing with your ribs. So hands are on the lap, relax, shoulders are relaxed down. When you tuck your chin down, see if you're tilting your pelvis or you're moving your ribs around, and try not to do that. So try to just keep the movement in the neck and keep the rest of the body stable and the same so that we're not avoiding the stretch in the neck by adjusting the body in some other way. So body stays stable, so you can activate the tummy muscles, roll the shoulders back and down, and then slowly chin towards the chest. Settle it down and then turn to look to the left. Just as far as you're comfortable. If the neck is stiff, don't push it. Rolling it towards the ceiling, don't throw it back. And then over to the other shoulder. Roll it back down towards the chin or towards the chest. And again, I'm just moving it nice and easy, noticing any crackles. One more. My neck sounds quite crunchy today, and then reverse and go the other direction. We're not leaning the body, we're not tilting forward or back. We're just gently moving through the neck, and then come back to the front. Already I feel more open and free through my shoulders and neck. Hopefully you do too. We're just going to do a few more things. We're going to come down on the belly now. And if you still have your block or your blanket, probably the blanket, either one would be fine. I'll demonstrate with the block because I've got it out here already. We're going to come onto our front, and we want to make sure that we settle the body down equally. So knees are hip distance apart, tops of the legs, tops of the feet planted on the ground. And then I've got this block, and I want to put it underneath my lower ribs. You know, my belly is below the block, my breasts are above the block, and my ribs are kind of right underneath. So it's actually below sort of my main part of my ribs, not so much my lower ribs. Then I'm going to lift up, not into like a strict sphinx pose, but kind of just like a watching television pose. So you can even bring your fists or your palms beneath the chin. Wobble the feet so the legs are not tightening or activating in any way. Just like a kid lying on their belly watching telly. We just have a little bit of lift in the ribs. Again, that could be with something softer like a cushion or a folded up blanket. Don't squeeze your bum. You know, wiggle around here. Make sure you're not activating through the thighs, resisting the floor. You can bring the hands together in front and lift up onto the elbows a little bit more if it's comfortable. But we don't want to be lifting our head and looking upward. Just look down to the space in front of your mat. And the eyes are level or slightly looking down. Now this should be a fairly gentle back bend because we're not pushing hard and we've got the assisted lift through the ribs. If our head is relaxed, we should be able to breathe easily in and out through the nose. And what I want you to do here is stick your tongue out, open your mouth, stick your tongue out towards your chin. I'm opening my mouth wide, sticking out my tongue. You can make a noise if you want. Ah. And you can pull the tongue back in. Now see what you do with the rest of the body when you stick out the tongue. See if you start to resist the floor or tighten up. Try to soften if you notice you're doing that. And now do it one more time, just a little bit softer. You don't have to stick out the tongue so far. You don't have to open the mouth so wide. But keep with the sound. Notice the sensation in the throat now. Bring the tongue back in the mouth, swallow. Let your body sink down. You can stack the hands or the fists on top, resting the forehead down. Softening down towards the floor. You can widen the elbows further away from each other if that's more comfortable. Now letting the chest and the shoulders drop forward and down. Now the block is still there, so the sensation of the back might feel a little bit different, or the sensation of the block in front of you against the front body might seem strange. Let's take a few deep breaths, breathing right into that block. And then we're going to push ourselves up just enough to remove the block. We're going to roll onto the back and finish with a variation of fish pose. Now, fish pose opens up the throat quite a lot, but not everybody loves the sensation. So normally we put our hands, palms facing down, below our bum and kind of roll. So I'm rolling my shoulders towards each other. So my hands are underneath my bum, my shoulders are squeezed together, so the upper back is arching off the mat. That creates this space that I can lift up. I can lift up like this and land on the upper crown, the upper back crown of my head. Now, if that's doable for you, then just try to pull the belly in, keep the elbows squeezed in. You could even lift the head off a couple of times and make sure you've got it steady. And flex or point the toes. Whichever feels more steady for you. We're not worried so much about perfect form as feeling solid and focusing on the throat and the shoulders. So, I mean, you can open the elbows out a little bit more if you still feel the support. And taking a few deep breaths. Keep trying to pull the shoulders away from the ears. Keep trying to raise through the collarbone. One more breath. And then gently return the head to the floor. You can rock the hands out from underneath you. Bend the knees. Adjust the low back and hug the knees back up to the chest. Release through the low back. And we'll finish with our double block prop, or if you have a bolster, you can use that. So you can roll up or ease your way up. I think I'll use the bolster today. If you're using your two blocks, you're putting one at the shoulder blades and one at the back of the head. If you've got a bolster or, a nice stiff cushion, you can use that. I'm still using the second block for behind my head. If you really want that sensation, really emphasizing like the fish pose with the throat open. Some people like to have the head drop down. For me, that's a little bit too severe. So I like my head to be dropped, but with something to rest on. My arms are going to come out to the side. You could try the gold post arms if you want, but my elbows, I'm lifted up a little bit too much. So they can't reach. So I'm going to just drop them out to the side. The palms can be up or down, whatever's more comfortable. And the same with the legs, just like the beginning. If you want to bend the knees, I might bend the knees and drop them out to the side so the soles of my feet are together. And might even throw the blanket over me. A little bit warmer and more comfortable. So to think at this moment, as you close the eyes and settle back and down, think about the opening of the throat, the clarity of the throat. We're lifting through the chest and even the belly. We're lifting through the whole front of the body. We think about the clarity of the throat. So pay close attention to the position of the neck. And the throat, softening through the shoulders, continuing to let them release back and down. Bringing to mind any statement you want to repeat to yourself. I communicate with ease. Maybe you want to hum as you exhale. Kind of like our humming bee pranayama, but not exactly. But you can always hum. You can always add a hum in if it's comfortable. You could be using the ujjayi breath. 6 more breaths, whatever you're doing, just softening into it. Opening up, clearing the Vishuddha chakra. Feeling the breath move up and down through the throat. You can visualize breathing directly through the throat. And if your arms are out to the side, like mine are, we might just lift them up towards the ceiling and see if we can drop them up over the head for the last breath or two. Even if they don't touch the floor, reaching them up and over. And exhaling it back down. Adjust the legs. You might kind of wobble up and back to lying down or just sitting up. Either way, taking a few more restful breaths. Inhaling, exhaling, and bringing your attention to the throat. I hope that your throat chakra feels open and at ease, and I wish you a happy rest of your day.